saw the word prima donna come up, and then it dawned on me
Oh no!
that it's not
PRE space.
it's
the
not
singer Madonna.
Madonna.
Like
It's
before
prima
Christ.
donna.
Anno
It's not
Domini.
like before
Yeah,
Madonna
VM, yeah.
got famous.
Oh. That might
In
be
my
the way
head, it
future
was
generations talk about it,
pre-Madonna.
Yeah.
Welcome to the big room where every day is February 2nd. I'm here with Danielle, Nick, and Carl, and this week's movie was Groundhog Day, 1993 movie starring Bill Murray and a bunch of other people who aren't as cool as Bill Murray. Let's start off with impressions as normal. What did we think was going to happen? Nick, you've seen it right before?
Yeah, I saw it, probably like 5 years ago. So it was a nice refresher. I don't even think I watched it all the way through. It was like on in the house, and I caught bits and pieces throughout the movie. So this is probably my first watch through. It was super fun.
Yeah.
It's funny, I was trying at the beginning to write down his like one-liners.
Right.
But then there was just so many of them. I was like, I give up. Yeah, Bill Murray was incredible in this.
5 years ago, so 2018.
Treasure.
2018 was 5 years ago. Doesn't that make you want to die?
That
Carl,
feels wrong.
Yep.
what'd you think about the movie? Had you seen it?
Oh, I loved it. I'd seen it. So yeah, I'd seen it in high school. I talked about, the last episode. I think it was like freshman health. They had us watching the auditorium,
That's
and they
right.
were talking about like consequences, and like he can live consequence free, but if he wasn't, and it was just like, well, okay, which is fun. But why would they interrupt every 5 minutes to highlight it? Just let us watch the movie. But yeah, I loved it. Great. It was better than I remembered because I actually got to watch it this time. Bill Murray's a treasure. Just wonderful movie.
What about you? You had seen it before?
I hadn't seen it before, but I've heard about it a lot because I have watched a lot of like 90s rom-commy movies. So I don't know. I'm surprised that I hadn't seen it before.
Right.
But I went in with like, good expectations, and I really liked it as well. So it was pretty much what I expected it to be, though. So
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect. The only Bill Murray movie, well, I've seen Caddyshack, and I thought that was going to be a Bill Murray movie, and it is not a Bill Murray movie. It's a movie that has Bill Murray in it for like 5 minutes. And Ghostbusters, obviously. I mean, I know I haven't seen any
Ghostbusters
movie,
is
but everybody's
the
seen
only one I've seen.
Ghostbusters, right? Like, so
You gotta see
I loved
Caddyshack.
Bill Murray in that. So I had fairly high expectations going in, and I will say I had a good time. It was a fun movie.
It's a great
super
movie.
fun movie.
Oh my god, it's so much fun.
It's my first This Day Never Ends movie. I know there are
Really?
many out there with a
Interesting.
similar concept. Well, I guess does 50 First Dates count?
yes, no,
Okay.
absolutely.
So I've seen 50
I
First
thought
Dates.
about that.
I love 51st.
It is very similar.
But it's my first movie, I guess.
Different
where
approach.
The primary protagonist, right, is the one who's repeating.
Yeah.
Because 50 First Dates is from the other side. And what's that actress?
Drew Barrymore.
Drew Barrymore. I always think Reese
Barrymore.
Witherspoon. My brain is
That is
cheese.
incorrect. Incorrect.
So, obviously, when this comes out, it'll be, I think, January 31st.
I think so. It'll be 2 days before Groundhog
We'll be
Day.
prepping everybody for Groundhog Day.
Let's go.
I hope everybody gets stuck in a constant loop and gets to drive off a cliff and stuff.
We all get to have our proper character development.
So I did have, the movie starts with Phil, Bill Murray's character Phil, who's a weatherman. What a prestigious role. A weatherman for like your local Wesh station, like small town. Wesh 2 News is what we have here, but he thinks he's like hot shit, which is great.
Do you think this inspired in any way Anchorman, who's also a kind of a small town guy who thinks he's hot shit and has kind of a reckoning?
Oh, maybe.
I got vibes for that immediately. I was like, oh my god.
I have seen Anchorman, but it's been like 10 years. But yeah, I mean, that's a similar. He's a little less.
Pretty similar.
He's a little
Less
more
cartoony.
like aggressively full of himself. Bill Murray is as Phil than Will Ferrell. He's more like obliviously full of himself. I
Aloof.
guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's but that's an interesting note. Yeah, I didn't think of that. I
Yeah.
didn't think of Anchorman. That's a good note.
Yeah.
I love how he repeatedly calls himself the talent.
The talent is good.
It's so pretentious.
They have an aside about that too. The cameraman and the producer characters too.
so good.
So yeah, we've got full of himself Bill Murray. He lives in lives in, records in, jobs in, works in Pittsburgh, right?
Yes.
He's in Pittsburgh, and then they go to Puxatawney, real place, real Groundhog Festival.
Yep.
I guess all that's real. As a fact.
It became more popular after this movie came out. Actually, it did.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Any other?
Thanks, Bill Murray.
Any other facts we have about the film before we really get into the plot?
Yeah, so a really funny one, and it's fun to imagine this guy as Phil. Tom Hanks turned down the role of Phil.
That would not have been the same.
And that could have
It would not
been,
have been the same.
it wouldn't have been the same, but it would have been equally as good, I think.
Differently.
I don't know.
Like, he's really good in those heartwarming, like...
Right, but I can't see Tom Hanks in a suicide montage and having it be funny.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, I read that. They like
He doesn't have
thought
the
Tom-
cynicism. I don't
They thought
feel
Tom
like.
Hanks was too nice for this.
Yeah.
He was.
Yeah.
He didn't have that edge.
That's fair.
But '90s
Whoever
Tom
was
Hanks.
the casting director, good on you.
Also, Michael Keaton turned it down because he said he didn't understand the plot.
I heard he regretted that.
Which,
What is he? You and Casablanca?
yeah, I don't... I'm not Michael Keaton, but it seems like a pretty simple plot to me.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Well, if you got it, Michael Keaton must be dumb.
Isn't Birdman a really complicated
should I
movie?
be
though?
offended?
The only...
I've never
Hang
seen
on. I think I've only seen him in... Wasn't he Batman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've only seen him in the Tim Burton Batman movies. It's the only Michael
Yeah.
Keaton films I've seen, I think.
It's the only one he could understand.
Yeah, he's like,
Batman
I'm a
made
Batman.
sense to him.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I get that.
I can
I
punch
can
Jack
wrap my head around
Nicholson
that
in the
one.
face, but the day repeats, I'm out.
What do you mean it's the same day again? Doesn't happen.
What else we got?
So the movie was filmed in Illinois in March to June of 1992.
Did you just put an S on Illinois? Moving on.
Illinois. That's how you
Rural.
say it, right?
Incorrect.
Illinois.
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 Yeah.
Illinois. You're right.
Well, we learned something about Nick today.
Moving on.
At West Virginia Education.
That's right.
Am I right?
Oh boy, shots fired. Give us facts.
Anyways, this was filmed in Illinois
Yeah.
in March to June of 92. It was the year before I was born. And because it was the middle of summer and they're filming a winter movie, so it's 80 degrees outside and everyone's running around in these coats.
Yeah.
That would suck.
Seems pretty miserable. And this movie also marks the end of Harold Ramis and Bill Murray's friendship.
Oh, this was the last film they did.
Apparently, they beefed a lot on set.
Yeah.
Murray might have channeled Phil Connors a little too much. Apparently,
He
he
method
was-
acted.
Yeah. Quote, irrationally mean and unavailable at times,
Yeah.
and often late to the set, which he blamed on the fact that he was going through a divorce.
Yeah.
Ramis didn't buy it, and then they didn't talk for 20 years.
Jeez.
Wow.
Until
Drama.
Murray met Bill Ramis on his deathbed in 2014 and buried the hatchet.
Yeah.
Before they buried him.
That's right. Got him.
You're right.
Too soon? Come on.
R.I.P. Harold Ramis.
Oh.
9 years. Is that all for the facts?
That's some facts for you.
That's some
I got a
facts.
couple more. We'll see.
We'll see. I've got one, but I'm saving it.
Might keep my secrets.
I'm saving it.
Oh.
So yes, Groundhog Day movie. We get the asshole weatherman full of himself in his news van full of two other people. I thought it was interesting that the producer, the female producer Rita, played by L'Oreal hair model Andy McDowell. She's been in L'Oreal commercials, I guess, since 1986 or something like that. That was
actual model.
That was a fact I knew. Yeah, she was like the spokesperson for L'Oreal shampoo and conditioner and other products. Although her hair is
Seems
like
she'd be for
aggressively,
Garnier Fruit Tea, but yeah.
her hair is aggressively 90s.
Those are the vibes I get.
Okay, but something I appreciate about movies from the 90s is people look like real people.
Yeah,
Like everybody in movies now is like their teeth are perfect and their
her
hair
teeth
is
were
perfect.
not white.
And I'm just like, I love that people, they look like actual people.
Nobody's teeth were white in this movie, though.
Maybe
That's
that's because watching this, I was like, they don't make movies like this anymore, and maybe
No.
that's why it feels like because they do make comedies.
well, they
Like,
don't
maybe
make
everyone's just
rom-coms
too
anymore.
Perfect.
They don't make rom-coms
Yeah.
anymore.
They're not the same.
Well, not even that. It's like if they're not perfect, they're leaning into the imperfection. Whereas this is just middle ground. Like she was girl next door, salt of the earth kind of people vibes.
She was lovely.
How much of it though
Hollywood's
is
She was great.
things were taped still back then? You know, like things were filmed on film. And there are movies filmed on film now, but I don't know. It just looks different. It doesn't have that graininess, that kind of overtone of
grain.
beige.
We can see the pores in people's faces now on our TVs.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and when I rented it in 4K, and it looked great because it was still film, so they could scan it and output it in 4K. But it still has that look of 90s. You know, like I don't know. You don't
That
scan a
subtle
4K
tooth.
movie now, and it
Yeah.
doesn't look like Avatar or whatever. You know what I mean?
No.
Or anything modern. It still looks old, and I really
It's got
appreciate
a
that
softness,
feel.
a nostalgic,
that feel.
warmth. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got Andie MacDowell as Rita, and she kind of rolls with Bill Murray's with Phil's punches, like his jabs. You know, she kind of water off the duck's back to a lot of the jabs. And
Yeah.
like, oh, my first impressions of those. Oh, she's cool. You know, she can hang with, and he's being a tool. But he's being a tool in a lovable way that only Bill Murray can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
like
I wrote down that he's a bit of a narcissist, but I like it.
exactly. He has this ability, and it's got to be just his genius, where he's got this ability to be terrible, but you're still on his side,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that
Yeah,
I
yeah.
really
Is it a
appreciate
psychopath or sociopath? Which one is he? It's a sociopath.
that. Sociopath? We'll
No,
just
he's
run
a
with
psy-
that. Like that's
one
the
of
right
them's-
answer.
One of them's like the one that's self-possessed and
comfortable.
doesn't doesn't worry about the consequences. He's that,
Yeah,
but he does it in a lovable way.
yeah. I really liked his performance. I thought it was a little. I had a note early on that I wasn't super into the overt assholeness of Bill Murray because it felt. I just felt like I know the day is going to start repeating because it's called Groundhog Day and the movie's in the zeitgeist, you know, it's everybody knows what Groundhog Day is about. But I was like, I feel like this character being such a narcissist is really going to come into its own once the craziness of days repeating start happening. Cause it just felt,
When he starts to really unravel. And
yeah. And I feel like they had to be really ham fisted with it in the beginning because they only had 15 minutes, you know, it's only until when I started
you
liking
have to really
it.
establish that character and
Yeah,
off the beat. Yeah.
I started liking it when they were kind of throwing jabs in the van on the way to Puxatawny, when she was just kind of like throwing it right back in his face. I liked that, but when I really was
I
like,
like blood sausage.
yeah,
Yeah. Who likes blood sausage?
when I right after this, I watched an episode of Dirty Jobs in bed because I'm perpetually stuck in 2006, and they mosquito they were like feeding mosquitoes blood sausage so they could learn how to. They basically are testing insecticides on mosquitoes in the aftermath of Katrina because there were so many swimming pools full of just little ponds with West Nile virus in them.
Skaters.
So yeah, I got a lot of blood sausage in me last night. But when the part of the movie where I was really like, oh, here we go for Bill Murray is when he started going insane when the road was blocked because the blizzard that he predicted wasn't going to be there came, and he just was shivering outside.
Dude, that scene where
that's
he's
in summer is
shivering
hilarious. Yeah.
was so funny to me. Like, how cold could it have been
Yeah, I feel like that was
to be talking?
Well, they filmed some of the movie in the winter. They filmed some of the movie in the winter because Bill Murray, I read on Wiki where he's like, it was 20 degrees filming, so we were really, really cold, 12 hours a day, our skin's cracking, we're shivering all of our calories out. But then it's spring, and then it's 70, but you're still in your overcoat, stomping in a puddle, and it's a bummer. But that's the scene, that shivering scene where I was like, here we go. Like the flower of the movie is opening to just Bill Murray's insanity. And
That's
I
where
couldn't
he's
wait.
like, he can either freeze or go back, and he's like, I'm thinking.
and he's shivering.
His comedic timing is just so great. A lot of this felt like an SNL skit where like he was like, I've seen him eat, and he's like, oh, sticks his like hand in his mouth. What is that? But I was just like, it's like he could pull that off. I was just like, man, it's so good.
Oh, so good. And the town, I know it's not real Puxatawny, but man, it was so charming. I wanted to live there. Much like they wanted to live there at the end of the movie.
Spoilers.
I really liked it. And then, we get the Groundhog's name is Phil, blah, blah, blah. I thought Groundhog being Phil and then Phil's character being named Phil. I was like, I see what you're doing.
That's a nice irony.
See what you're doing here, movie man.
You're tricky.
And then we get Phil in the quaint little hotel inn. What do you call that?
Bed and breakfast.
Bed and breakfast. Thank you. My brain is cheese.
And that also is a good time to read how good she was as a producer, because she knew he didn't like that hotel, and she got him a swanky spot because he's the talent.
I can't stay here.
Yeah, you gotta keep the talent happy.
Yeah.
I got bed bugs.
Yeah. So she's new, but she's not a novice.
It's funny how
he's
acting like he's hotshot weatherman, but this is only his 4th time covering Groundhog Day. So, and if he's lived in Pittsburgh, we assume for however long, it's like he can only have been a weatherman for 4 years. Yeah. I was still an idiot 4 years into my job. I'm an idiot now.
It was a shit gig. I didn't know that it was an esteemed story. I thought it was just kind of like you're gonna go to Punxsutawney.
Right, but he had to have been doing that for his whole career as a weatherman there. But how are you a hotshot weatherman? You've only been on the job for 3 years.
Well, and if he was a hotshot, they would have sent someone else to cover this.
And then this is his delusion.
Rita playing in the blue screen in the beginning too was cool. She's like dancing in the blue screen wearing blue.
You saw me playing in the screen.
I was like, love interest, bashful. Pretty immediately.
Yeah.
What's the camera guy's name? I don't remember his name.
Larry.
So he's a character that I couldn't put my finger on where I had seen him from, and Schitt's Creek. He's like the dude that owns the town at the beginning or whatever. The dirty.
He's in a lot of stuff, odds and ends though, but I can't place him on anything.
Yeah, that's what I had known him from, and
he's a familiar face.
I'm not a Schitt's Creek fan. You were, so I just kind of absorbed it by proxy. You watched some of it.
I watched some of it. I wanted to get into it more than I did.
The clips were funny.
The clips are funny.
What I've seen on TikTok is good.
If it was just all David, I would probably be into the show.
Well, yeah, of course.
Oh my
God. Hilarious. So we get the bed and breakfast drama. This is when it starts looping. We have a bunch of establishing like the guy in the hallway, the conversation with the
house lady who runs.
Yeah,
she's great. I liked her a lot.
She was cool. The kiss with her was hysterical.
That was great.
I loved the scene, and it was only like the first or second loop, and he walks up to her, or no, it was the first day probably. It was the first day, and he walks up. She's like, "Did you sleep well?" And he's like, "Do you have any espresso?" And she goes to say, "I don't have any espresso." And then he like cuts her off, and all she says was, "I don't have, or I don't know." And then he's like, "You don't know how to spell espresso?" Or he says something under his breath,
like or cappuccino. Yeah. So that was good. It's like,
the banter with her was fun though.
Yeah, she was a highlight every time she was on screen. My least favorite character in the movie is Ned. I hated Ned so much.
Poor Ned.
So that's what I wrote down. I'm like, please tell me Microsoft named the search engine Bing after that guy saying Bing.
And that was before.
They didn't. Maybe. They didn't. I looked. Yeah, because Bing was introduced in 2007 or 2008 or whatever. But no, they didn't name it after him from what I could find, which is such a disappointment. But yeah. Ned, I don't remember his last name. I'm looking it up. Ned Tobolsky?
Byerson?
Oh, no, wait.
Something
Steven
like
Tobolsky is the actor. Anyway, doesn't matter. He tries to immediately sell him insurance, which drove me crazy. It's like, you're going to play up this, my old friend from high school. And he's playing up knowing him just as much as Phil is downplaying knowing him as not knowing him.
It's like an unmovable object and an unstoppable force. It's so great.
I loved that. And then I'm like,
right. So it's like, shut up, dude. Just want to strangle him.
Ned was one of those characters where I knew him from something.
Oh.
Do you guys remember him from anything?
I remember him
but
from
I'm not going to
something.
say.
It's probably not the same as yours, Nick.
I hope they're all different.
It's probably not.
I'm curious.
He played the role of Jack Barker in Silicon Valley. He was the CEO that replaced Richard.
Oh.
He had like the triangle of success or whatever.
Okay.
I got one for you too. Is he not the professor that does who's the boss in Community?
Oh, wait.
Huh.
I think he is. I might be thinking of somebody else, but
I don't know if I remember.
As we turn to
It
Google.
is. It is him.
Yeah.
That's from the.
Got it. I love all 3 seasons of that
wow,
show.
it
So.
Oh
is.
yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Is that the
Man, 3
is that the
seasons
one
in a
where
movie.
Abed does?
Yeah, he does the
Abed
whole
does
thing.
Nick Cage in that class.
No, that's another. That's later seasons. This is the one where he does like the whole explanation of it, and he's like, he's like Angela Barker. He's like class dismissed.
Oh, what a show!
What a good
I
show.
love Community.
I love all 3 seasons.
Yeah. Yep.
I know him. He played Sandy, the
Yeah.
ashamed Glee Club original director in Glee. So that's how I know him.
That sounds like a Nick show. Nick, you watched Glee, right?
Nick loves Glee.
No,
You didn't watch
I watched
Glee?
the
What's
other
your
show.
favorite?
I watched the other show that Ryan Murphy makes, American Horror Story.
Oh.
Which what a weird combo. By
Exact
I was gonna say,
same
that's
tone.
like polar opposites. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, Ned's a tool. The insurance thing pissed me off. Then we
We
get the
love him,
puddle
yeah.
step. And I was wondering in the movie, I wondered aloud if he was gonna step into the puddle only the first and last time, or if it was gonna be every time and then as he learned he was gonna step over it. But it happened to be the latter. But yeah, I don't know. It was good. And then we start kind of getting the loop, you know. And we get like this ebb and flow of him trying to figure it out, and he's just going through the motions, and he gets angry first. Did we go like through all the stages of grief with the?
No, that's how they spaced the movie out. I was reading about it. Like they had him work through like the 5 steps of grief.
Really?
Yeah, like that was done on purpose.
I'm smart.
So I don't
So
know
it's
what
like
they all are.
Denial at the beginning.
Denial, anger.
I don't know what the other phases are.
Something, depression, and then acceptance. Grief, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
grief. and then
Denial,
something.
anger, bargaining,
Bargaining.
depression, acceptance.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then we've got Phil. He goes to the psychiatrist, like the therapist's office, to kind of get a grip because he's freaking out at this stage, you know. In that whatever this first stage of grief is, who cares? Being freaked out. Carl, didn't you have something on the therapist?
Yeah, so that guy looked really familiar to me, and I couldn't place him. And my gut said he was the opposite guy on the Sonic commercials, but I was wrong. I looked it up. He had some credits. Among them, the one that I recognized him from was the Book of Boba Fett. He was the like beige Twi'lek that was like a. So I was like, oh my
Never
god! But even
watched
through
it.
all that makeup with the hair things, I was like, I know that face.
Wow.
So yeah,
Wow.
yeah, not
No
a great
kidding.
show,
Book of
but-
Boba Fett. That show sucks. Star Wars is bad. I'm mad about it. Never bring up Star Wars again.
All we do is bring up Star Wars on this
Yeah, we
Yeah, what
really
are you
do every
talking about?
episode.
Maybe one day we'll do a hate watch of the sequel trilogy, and I'll
Oh
just
my
be
God.
screaming for an hour, and no one will listen.
And I'll love it.
Everyone will listen.
Star Wars hasn't been good since 2005. So yeah, we go to the psychiatrist, blah blah blah. This is when too he goes and drinks with those 2 dudes from the diner at the bowling alley
Yeah.
bar, which is amazing. I want to get drunk at a bowling alley bar. That's some real white trash behavior. And that's when he kind of realizes like none of his actions have consequences, right?
Yeah.
So he goes on that hysterical
It took
joy.
2
We have
boneheads to
we have
give
the
him that
drunk
big
driving.
breakthrough.
We have the drunk driving thing, and he asks the dude, "Do you want to throw up in the car or out here?" And the dude
Yeah.
says both or something like that. It's
Yeah.
so funny.
Oh, both.
Bill drives the car, and then like, I guess Bill Murray, drives it on train tracks. It's hysterical. He's running from the cops, and then like,
Such a slow chase.
yeah, like gives the cops his like McDonald's order at the end after the crash, which is great. You got flapjacks. And this is the first. So he obviously spends the night in jail, which really keyed me into like, I guess the severity, or really cemented in like the Groundhog Day-ness, because every other time he'd gone to bed in the bed and breakfast bed and woken up in the bed. Well, this time he goes to bed in jail, and
he's
still
kinda
wakes up at the diner. So that's when I
testing
was
the limits here.
yeah, and it's like, oh snap! No matter what this guy does, he's gonna wake up at that bed and breakfast. Holy cow!
Bread and breakfast.
on Groundhog Day. So then he just kind of like he's like not playing by the rules at all. That's when my favorite moment in
It's
the movie.
his world now.
My favorite moment in the movie is Ned walks up and he just punches him in the face.
Phil,
keeps
Ned.
walking.
Just knocks him out and lays him out. It just keeps going. And then he lets somebody else walk in the puddle. It's just like, oh, man.
It's funny. Yeah, and then he
Knowledge
watches
is
someone else
power.
walk in the puddle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's funny, like, at a certain point, he realizes that, like, every other person in the world is just an NPC and they don't matter.
It's a
Yeah.
video
It's
game
his
now.
world and he's roaming around, yeah.
It's so
Just
good.
find the
man.
odd quests. Just like...
He does the Nancy thing. He starts. That's when we see that he's starting to learn the patterns, right?
Yeah.
And he
He's
starts
figuring
that
out how to
with Nancy.
gamify this place.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, "Where'd you
Yeah.
go to high school? Blah blah blah. What year?
Yeah.
What class? Blah blah blah." And he uses all that to like,
He's farming information.
yeah, and he uses that to get in bed with Nancy,
Diabolical.
and then call her Rita twice, which is when
Yeah.
we
And this is
Big
that's the
yikes.
first
And then-
confirmation that he's even into Rita.
Exactly,
Because at first we think it's just like dismissive, but we're like, okay, so he's kind of into
He
her,
calls
so-
her Rita twice and then proposes to her.
immediately.
Yeah, and then calls her Rita
Immediately.
again. And he's like, whatever. This doesn't sway her at all. She just wants a ring so bad.
Yeah, and that doesn't work. And then he robs the armored car, which is that's when we're like, man, he's got this down to a science, because he's like,
Yeah. At
you
this
know.
point, I'm like, how long has he been here? Because he's got bird chirps down and wind breezes. like,
Yeah.
down
I
to
wondered the
a
same thing.
second.
And the director said in the special edition commentary that he lived the same day for about 10 years.
what?
10 years. Okay.
10 years.
Insane.
Yeah.
Well, I guess he
That
learned
would
piano.
really
Imagine.
weigh on you psychologically, though. Any
Yeah.
eye sculpting.
He learns French.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
To impress
French.
Rita.
Oh,
At
he
least, at
did.
least a sentence. Like,
Yeah.
Oh man.
Which is
good.
cool. And he's learning the timing of everything, right? He's learning the patterns, but it's still for him at this
Yeah.
point. It's still for his own benefit. Steal the money and then dress up like a cowboy and take a new
That was
girl to
great,
the
too.
movies.
Yeah. Runs into Nancy. He's like, my own fiance doesn't remember me.
Yeah.
It's like- he's still having fun at this point.
Yeah.
Like he's
Which is great. That montage was funny. I also wondered how long it was, but yeah, this
Yeah.
10 years.
The
That's
scene,
wild.
I think it's right when he starts to like eat all that food. They're at the diner. She's like, "It's nice to see someone, of advancing years just throwing caution to the wind." And he just eats that whole piece of cake. And he's like, "What?" Just muffled. That's my favorite. That's my favorite line. Like that sums up the movie perfectly. Just what? Just barely gets it through the cake. It's so like muted.
Yeah.
So I loved it so much.
And we advance after that into the bummer stage, right? So then he's like, it's so cold
Well,
every day.
Yeah. He tries to pick up Rita, right? And then
Yeah, and he fails at it. Is that when he
Yeah.
does the drink order? Like he learns her drink order?
Yeah, what was it?
It's a
Sweet
dry-
vermouth on the rocks with a twist.
With a twist, yeah, which
Yeah.
is nasty.
And then he takes a sip and like wants to throw up.
he like looks at her
And then just gives her a look like,
like, but so much goes through it. Like that expression. It's like, oh, this is your favorite drink? Oh yeah, I like it too. Oh, it's so
I really
good.
thought he would go the
Oh.
sweet vermouth with a twist, and for me, and like
Yeah.
order her drink, but he never really did. But I guess that would be
Yeah.
playing like that'd be kind of showing the hand a bit,
Yeah.
which he ends up doing anyway.
yeah, he just wants to.
But there's
he
no
wants to
showing your
shock
hand
her.
when you can do it over again. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Right, but he
that's
gets
true.
creeped
You can
out.
just
Fair.
Control Z.
But
and
he's
do it the
learning
next
all
day.
this, so he's probably figured out the best way is if I order it first.
Yeah,
He's probably tried every combo.
It's true.
He's
That's
like A/B
true.
testing.
and he had
Yeah.
10 years.
Getting
to
with
do
the
it.
Testing, yeah, with his life.
And then he kidnaps the freaking groundhog. He,
Oh my
That's
God.
when he like snaps. The end of Act 2 is like he snaps and kidnaps Phil and does
Yeah.
the whole police chase. They
God, could you
end up
imagine
in
living
the
the
quarry.
same day over and
Oh.
over and over and over again? At some point, you'd be like, "I'm just gonna kill everybody in the town.
When did it-
Let's just see what happens."
Well, yeah, like when in the
Like-
10 years is this happen?
Yeah,
Because this is before piano. This is before
Yeah.
ice sculpting. Maybe it
I
was.
almost
in the
wonder if it
anger
happened in like the
stage.
Well,
first year
I
or
was gonna
two.
say, what stage of grief is that?
It's gotta
That's
be
anger, right?
Yeah, anger.
Yeah.
This is the
It's
anger.
gotta
stage.
be. So
Yeah.
you're like,
He's just he's doing the
third.
nuts. He's like, it's not gonna stop unless I gotta do something. He like realizes it's right there on the spot. He's like, I'm gonna change.
It's like a
things."
break of the cycle moment, which is
Yeah.
it makes sense.
If you
but
tried
he-
everything else.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he he goes into the quarry, and then Chief Groundhog Man and then the cops and whatever, they block the entrance. He's like, there's only one way in and one way out. Classic,
Yeah.
and then he just drives off a cliff. The best is the camera guy and Rita.
The camera guy.
She's like, you think he might be alive down there?
He
And then it
lands
explodes.
topside down, smashes into a ravine.
And then it explodes.
He can still
and he's
be
like,
okay.
Probably not.
Oh my god,
So funny.
good.
That guy did not like Phil.
No, he hated him. Phil's, you're
didn't
aiming a
give much
camera
of
at
a-
this guy who
yeah.
thinks he's talent, I get it.
Oh my gosh. There's a scene, I have to admit this. There's a scene where the cameraman, it's when they're at the beginning and the groundhog's coming out and they're seeing if it's going to be winter still or whatever.
Like the first time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he does this thing on camera and then Phil runs off and the camera guy just goes, prima donnas, am I right? So I watched this movie with the subtitles on.
Yeah.
And I saw the word prima donna come up. And then it dawned on me
Oh, no.
that it's not
PRE space.
it's
the
not
singer Madonna.
Pre-Madonna.
Like
It's
before
prima
Christ.
donna.
Anno
It's not
Domini.
like before
Yeah,
Madonna
PM, yeah.
got famous.
That might
In
be the
my
way
head, it
future
was
generations talk about it,
pre-Madonna.
Yeah. This was
I-
pre-Madonna.
Oh, what is it?
16
so
years
dumb.
pre-Madonna.
So prima donna's like
Oh,
the lead lady in a ballet. So it's like the main character.
Oh.
It's all about her. Which in that scenario is true in this scenario.
Yeah, a person
He's
who
full of
thinks
himself.
I love
she or he is better than
PRE
everybody
Madonna.
else.
That's great.
Ah,
Not a part and doesn't play a part of a team, I think is the subtext.
okay, but it
It
has,
has nothing to do with Madonna.
Nothing to do with Madonna. I love your
No,
That's
brain.
where she got her name, though.
That's amazing.
I love your brain.
Anyways, yeah. Camera guy hated him.
And then
Even when he was dying.
And then we go into a suicide montage, which is so surprising.
much.
I just
Yeah.
don't know if we would do that in the 2020s,
I don't
you know.
think we would.
But I
We'd
loved
have
it.
to-
He goes
we'd
down.
have to have a warning label up
Yeah,
front, I
a
think.
trigger
He just-
warning.
He brushes
Yeah.
past "Good morning, you off to see the Groundhog guy," goes right down to breakfast and just rips out the toaster.
Grabs the toaster.
And then we just see the lights flicker. So good.
Which is like,
Yeah.
Oh.
that's like the worst way to try to do it. I'm gonna electrocute
Yeah.
myself. You could do it anyway. That's the way you're gonna do it. I'm sorry.
I don't know. Stepping in front
That's
of
what
a
he had to
van
choose
sucks.
from.
But that'd
Yeah.
be quick. I feel like
He-
electrocution isn't quick, right?
No,
And then he
you're
jumped
feeling
off
that
a
one.
ledge.
Yep.
Also quick.
That one's pretty quick.
yeah.
He later says he's been poisoned, stabbed, shot. So I don't know how those went
Stabbed
down,
would
but
be bad.
Stabbed, shot, poisoned, frozen, hung, electrocuted,
Frozen.
burned.
Frozen?
wow,
He did it. He
He's
did
done
it all.
yeah.
Frozen's bad too. Like,
In this
Frozen
insane
would be terrible.
scenario, I don't know that I would ever get to that point. Because how do you know, like, what if you kill yourself and that was actually the
that was
last
the
day?
last day.
That was
Then
the
he,
one.
He would be relieved. I
Right?
feel like, though.
I mean,
You're
he
done.
wouldn't know.
yeah,
I mean, I guess you know when you're dead.
yeah.
I really liked.
He's
I
looking
re-
for anything to be done with this, though. He's like, I got to get out of here.
I really
Yeah, it's
liked
true.
the lead in from the suicide montage to the Rita Diner moment. When we have several
Yeah.
Rita Diner moments, but that's where he's like, he really like flexes his "I've repeated this day a million times" with
Yeah.
he, like
He's finally at
gives-
his like lowest breaking point. He's like, I just need to confide in somebody here.
yeah, and well, he gives details of everybody
Yeah.
in the and like plates are gonna break in 5, 4, 3, 2, and that's when he has his like actual real day with Rita, like a genuine spend all day,
Yeah.
with Rita. Is this the one where he screws it up at the end?
I think so. That's where he tries to put the moves on too hard.
Yeah.
No, that was
Or was
before.
that
That's what
earlier?
put him
I
in the
think that was
funk.
before.
That's what put him in the funk.
Yeah,
and
with the
then
ice
all
cream
this-
outside the window.
This was like he's at his breaking point, and he's like, "I'm from." Wait, what? Yeah, the ice cream.
yeah, the ice cream.
This one, he actually has like a real day with her, and she's like, "Well, if all this is happening to you, I'll spend the day with you." And they're like, "Oh, it's kind of like a science experiment." So he has like an actual authentic day. But even then, I'm like, "Is this real?" Because he's memorized everything at this point. So
Yeah, but
knows?
it is the turn though.
Yeah.
That's the turning point at the end of the second
Yeah.
act.
Well, because I feel like at the end, like that night when they're falling asleep, I feel like he has that genuine sadness because he realizes like he's in love with her,
Right.
but he's never going to be able to progress past where they're at right now because the next
Yeah.
day they're going to have to
And
restart.
he's learning more about her
Yeah.
and falling more in love with her.
Infinitely
And
more.
it's just
every day.
resetting. Yeah. And it's just resetting for her.
Yeah.
Well, he does a lot. This is when he's doing the piano lessons and the ice sculpting and all that stuff, which is cool. And
Which, question, if you guys were stuck in a time loop, what skill would you learn?
oh, that's good. That's good.
Oh.
That's good. That's good. What skill would I learn? Carpentry. I feel like would be a
Ooh.
cool one.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Although maybe a pain because carpentry takes a long time to complete
Yeah,
something.
like your project
so not
would
that
Yeah,
one.
that's
true.
Yeah, that'd be really.
It wouldn't be anything. You wouldn't want it to be anything tangible. Like ice sculpting is good because that feels like a metaphor. It's gonna melt. So
Yeah.
ice sculpting is already a very in the moment thing.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely learn to play an instrument.
Yeah.
I would also learn a second language, third language.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Language would be a good one. What instrument would you do?
Yeah,
Uh,
Because even
Probably
that's
guitar.
tricky.
I'd like to learn
guitar,
more.
piano, drums in that order.
I think drums
Ooh.
I would do because I play guitar.
It'd be
now.
cool. I'd like to learn how to make.
Even if I'm
electronic
looping,
music.
I still don't have
Yeah,
the
like
coordination for
looping.
drums. so.
Electronic music, yeah.
Like if I could learn how to make a beat, painting would be a good one too. But I'm trying to
Baking?
like how much could I get like painting?
Baking, like pies and stuff.
Painting and baking would be good. I wanted
cool.
to like pottery would be a cool one.
Yeah.
It's all art stuff. I just don't. Yeah, I'm trying to think like how much could you really do at a
How much
daily
could
interval?
you paint in one day?
Yeah.
Skateboarding.
Skateboarding.
Mine
Well,
is
yeah, a lot of the muscle memory. I guess it would carry over, but
What was yours?
it seems like it'd be really tough.
mine would be dependent, like, because my first thought was like embroidery, but it was the same problem of like it would reset every day, so
Resets.
you couldn't get
We
very
have
far.
24 hours to do it.
Yeah, but
But
still.
If I was in a coastal town,
Surfing?
I would want to learn how to surf. I've
surfing.
always
That's a
thought
good one.
surfing was so cool.
Yeah.
So if I was looping at the beach,
What if that one day there's just no waves?
That's true.
Look at surfing, it's totally
It's
flat.
just flat.
it's just like
It's conditional. It's a conditional
Yeah.
one.
You can
you
get
have to learn
really
how to
good at
make a
hunting.
wave. Yeah.
Oh, hunting.
The same
Wow.
deers in the same spot,
Yeah.
You could get really good.
Are
Yeah.
you
You could
good
get
at it
rich.
then?
Be
or
like, I
you
bet
just
you
know?
$500 is gonna be.
Oh, I would definitely play the lottery.
Yeah.
Every time you're just.
But like, if it ever
But could you
unlooped,
cash it
he'd
in
get the
on
lottery.
that day though?
Yeah.
yeah,
That's true.
that's true. If it ever
Or
unlooped,
do
you'd be set.
scratch offs.
Get it.
Mm-hmm.
Man, a language is a good one. I like that. I like that.
Language would be fun.
Arts, the arts is really, but again, it'd have to be something like music, or they really nailed it with music, language, ice sculpting.
Yeah.
They really nailed
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And then
Dude,
he
I
does.
laughed.
Learning the piano lessons is hilarious though, because at some point he's nearly a master, and he's like, "I need piano lessons."
Well, at some point he's a master, and she goes,
Yeah.
"Are you sure this is your first lesson?" He goes,
Yeah.
"Yes, but my father was a piano mover." And that
I love
freaking cracked me up.
Her at the end, where she's like, "That's my student." I was like, "What a good teacher."
Well, he kicks the little girl
She's only
out
known him for a
grand.
day, though.
I know.
Yeah.
He was
That's
very
my
proficient
student.
at the time, so it was like
She was
I'm
probably like, "I'm
Yeah.
the best teacher in the
Yeah.
world."
oh, instant, yeah, so funny.
Oh man.
Oh man. So Cameron, there's that scene where he's playing with the band.
Yes.
Like they walk into this like reception thing and he's playing the piano with the band. You always talk about watching musicians in movies. Did you pay attention in this to see if they were actually playing their instruments?
They were not. Well, or they
Dang it.
were, and so there was one point where I don't remember if the spotlight was on the keys or if it was when they cut to some other instrumentalists, but there was a dude that music had stopped and he was, I don't remember if I think it was the upright
Just
bass
still
player,
going at it.
and he was still fingering, and
It's
his,
so funny, man.
so yeah, no,
Because
there was,
I watched that looking for that and I still couldn't pick up on it.
no, there was
And here
something
you
like
are.
that. I couldn't remember the exact instrument or moment, but I definitely went up. That's not, but who knows where in the song, like say they had been real instrumentalists and they were actually playing that song. Who knows where in the song they were when that shot was done versus where in the
Right.
song they were supposed to be for the plot.
Yeah.
So much
So
of it's on in
Right.
post where they cut the audio.
yeah, so that you can never really tell. It's not like, watching freaking the Jonas Brothers play guitar live where it's like, that's not plugged in. You're clearly not playing that. So it's a little harder to judge movie. Again, it's really obvious when they are not playing to me, especially when it's an instrument like guitar where it's like, you are just not doing that. But yeah, no, that there was something that either they weren't actually playing or it didn't line up for some other reasons. So Yeah, he does all that. He also starts, like, we've got the indication that he's really changing was with the homeless guy to me.
Yes. Oh man.
Yeah.
Where he's
Dude, that
catching the kid around that falls in the tree, and he's like, "You never say thank you."
Yeah.
He's helping the old ladies. He must be from the motor
tire.
club.
Yeah,
With the
which
flat
I
tire.
assumed he was also he like had a day job at this auto place, or were they just confused?
They were just confused.
Okay.
You know, he's
I was
working
like,
on my car.
Maybe
He must
took
be from the
lessons
motor
at this
club.
auto place and was just there and had the thing on. I don't know who knows. but
Who
yeah.
knows? He does have like a nice jack. So that happened. But he's got this old man, the old man that he's ignored that's begging for money on the street corner right before the puddle step, like every day. Calls him Pops. You know, and he does everything he can. He feeds him soup. He gives him tons of money. He tries to do CPR. He asks, and then he can't save the old guy.
Yeah.
No matter what, like that dude, the doctor, the nurse just goes, sometimes people just die. And it's just that dude's time to be dead. It just happens that that's Groundhog Day every single time, and there's nothing that Phil can do about it.
Sad.
Which, you know,
and
speaks
that's
to
gotta
the
hit hard. 'Cause
exactly, and it's the
he's probably
He's in an infinite life
3/4 of the
cycle.
way through this. Like he's been doing this for years, apparently, and like he can change everything or redo anything. But this is the
but he
one
can't-
thing that is inevitable.
It's the flip side of, for one, you can be very flippant because every day it's a new day, but the same thing's going to happen every day, even when it comes to that dude dying. And that's when we start to, you know, it's, you know, the whole Rita thing is also a turning point, but he's using the day to make everybody's day better and to try to save this old guy. So we're like, all right, Phil's changing. And you would after 10 years if killing yourself didn't work.
It's like,
I guess I'll be a better person.
I guess
Yeah,
I
I
have
guess.
to learn a lesson.
it will bolster my character.
Yeah. The rope didn't save me, but now I got to be a good person. Bummed out. And that's when I was like, man, this is a good movie, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's more than just you know, not to knock Adam Sandler comedies. I love an Adam Sandler comedy. And they often have, like, have you all seen The Longest Yard? No. Okay. Well,
Bits and pieces.
yeah, you know, in all of them you've got the sad part, right? Or it's just not a good movie. You've got to have, you know, in The Longest Yard it's Chris Rock's character explodes. But and that was that part, but man, it was really profound in this. Like there's under the veneer of Bill Murray being amazing and the it's a really well written, you know, it's way better
It's
than
layered.
way better than Gangs of New York.
Oh, yeah.
I felt like they did a really good job at, even though it was the same day, moving you along in the day at different points so it didn't feel repetitive for
Yeah, you know, we do
viewer.
the
kind of a
greeting
bottle
and the Ned
episode.
thing early on. Like that's the part of the movie we're fixated on because they have to cement like it's the same thing. But then you're right, we get the homeless guy, or we get the car breaking down, or we get the ice sculpture, or you know, what have you, or the piano lessons, and it made it feel fresh even though it's not for him.
Yeah.
It was great. And then, you know, we get the really, when the act 3 starts to really, the movie's winding down, we've got that dance or whatever, with camera guy trying to hit on, what's her face? Nancy.
Yeah.
And it's just not working. And then, you know, Rita's there and asks about if anybody's seen Phil, but he's playing piano. That's when he's playing the piano up on stage, and we've got
Punxsutawney Phil Collins or Connors.
and you know, we get this auction, right, for every year we auction off a guy for some reason.
Groundhog Day tradition.
Keep it legal. Like,
It reminded me of that scene in Parks and Rec where
They auction off Anne.
they auction off Ann Perkins, and she's like, $1 million for me. It's like that, but
there was an auction in the last movie, Gangs, too. Or no, 2 movies ago.
That's
But
true.
yeah, Cameron Diaz votes for Leo's character.
that's right.
She's got the mirror.
Lots of auctions.
Real life tender.
yeah.
But this is where, so the guy running the auction is, let me pull up his character name. He's the Groundhog guy, like the main guy that holds up the Groundhog and does the.
In a very, very familiar
His name is
voice.
Buster in the movie.
Buster.
The whole movie, I'm hearing this guy Buster's voice and going, where do I know this voice from? Was it familiar to any of y'all?
Yeah.
Have
Yes.
you
I couldn't
have
place it,
any of
though.
y'all looked up outside of Danielle because she saw me come to this realization?
I did.
Nick, did you look it up or no?
I haven't.
Okay,
I
so
was going
I'm
to.
like, I know this voice, and for some reason, it had to have been from voice acting, like animated, like a cartoon voice actor.
Yeah.
And he is the Flying Dutchman in SpongeBob. Go back and listen. And then he has a couple more, like I paused the movie and he has a couple more
Yeah.
lines and I just saw the Flying Dutchman and it
Oh my
ruined it
God.
for me. I was laughing
is
for
so
20 minutes because it's just the
God.
Flying Dutchman.
I never would have
I-
placed that. I was like trying to figure it out. I was like, he sounds so familiar. I didn't know what he was from. Yeah, that's so good.
Did you know him from something else, Nick?
No, I just googled Flying Dutchman. I don't know who this guy is.
Oh no!
I've never seen this guy before.
What?
Oh,
Did
too-
you not watch
Sorry.
SpongeBob?
No, I watched Buttercream Gang
Too
growing
much
up.
Buttercream
No.
Gang, not enough SpongeBob. Man, SpongeBob holds up. You got to go back and get
Oh
Paramount
my
Plus
God.
and watch it.
All right,
The
here we
first six.
That's a lot of show to tear through.
first 6 seasons, and some of it's grading. We've watched some.
You just need the classic episode.
We've watched some, and it's like, man, if he does
Mm-hmm.
this laugh one more time, I'm gonna break my television.
Yeah.
And that show doesn't like it's fun nostalgia wise. It may not be as good if you hadn't, but man, the Flying Dutchman, so good. That was my fact I had been holding on to. Is man, that guy
Yeah.
was the Flying Dutchman. It cracked me up.
God, I'm glad you looked it up because that was driving me crazy.
Yeah. So, and he counsels that couple that he met at the diner where the lady had cold feet, right?
Yeah.
He's like, she's
Yeah.
got cold feet. What?
And he gave them tickets to WrestleMania as a wedding present.
Hilarious. What the heck?
Where did he get those?
That's what I was about
Who
to
knows?
ask. Yeah.
I
Well,
don't
I guess
know.
if it's the same day, like you could have bought WrestleMania tickets any day.
I
Or-
guess
On the first day, he was just planning to go, and we just didn't know.
it was a better
Just
time.
had
They
them in his
didn't have
pocket.
they didn't have
That was the real
Ticketmaster.
moment that changed it, is when he gave those tickets away that he was holding on to this whole time.
That's what got him out
when
of
it
the
was
loop.
Like, that's what broke the loop. He was like, finally.
He sacrificed WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And then Rita buys Phil at the auction from the Flying Dutchman, and they spend that last genuine night together where I couldn't 100% catch because I was still reeling from the Flying Dutchman if she was trying to stay awake all night to see if that would break the loop or if she was just staying with him or whatever.
I don't know. I don't know if I got a
But
feel on that.
we get that.
Well, she expected him to disappear at midnight.
That's right. That's right.
I thought that was the night before this, though.
no,
That was the
this
first
one.
genuine night.
I think that was this one
No, I don't know.
because she's staying in the bed because she never gets. She
No,
All the
that-
days are blurring together
that
because it was
was
the same
the-
day.
That was the first one because
Was it?
then
Okay.
he wakes up. This one, like
You're right.
he expresses all
Okay.
his love and stuff, and then he wakes up and she's still there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's still there, and we get the false repeat or whatever, with they're playing the same song,
Yeah.
and the radio
Yeah.
people
Can you
are like,
imagine
I'm
if they
sick of
just
that
didn't
song.
end it? It was just him still in the bed alone. It's just like the end. It's like what?
I would have been so mad.
Well, you were still not happy with the ending, though, were you?
Well,
I
I
love
wasn't
the
either.
ending
explain
ending,
it.
but
Exactly.
so like, was it magic? Was it like what was it? Like why?
The Wikipedia talked
know.
about this a little bit, and the studio heads had the same questions. Essentially, like they were like, we liked the movie, but what was it? Did he get hit in
Yeah.
the head? Was it aliens? Was it one of the pitches was like a science experiment gone wrong? And their approach to filming it was, we'll film those scenes last, and either we'll never film them because we've run out of time, or we just won't put it in the movie. Because
yeah.
they all felt that it just doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't want them to explain it.
Either
I like
way
that it's
he
just,
learns-
It's an unexplained. It's a phenomenon. You can't explain it.
I like the fantasticalness of it not being explained more than I would have been like, oh, remember when he
Yeah.
got hit in the head at the beginning of the movie? Like, that
Yeah.
was it.
In the 50s, this was a scientific. Yeah, it would have been.
yeah.
I was waiting. I
That-
thought the bartender was going to be
Like a fairy
like
godmother.
a spirit guy.
Okay, yeah.
Like he was going to be like, all right,
The
Phil,
bartender.
here's what you
He
need to learn.
was like my favorite side character because every single time something happened, he would
was
shake his
always
head and
eavesdropping.
smile like he was in Roadhouse. I was like, this is great. I thought he was like some transcendent character that knew what was going on because
Yeah.
he seemed like he was aware. Like
The
he seemed like he
nods.
knew he had been like planning. Yeah, it was.
yeah.
Yeah, he was great.
I
So
kinda
good.
wanted
Just
there
shook his head
to-
at everything.
To be another character that eventually we found out was also reliving the same day.
They did that with some
Would've
new
been kinda
version
cool.
of a show, didn't they? It was one with
So that was Palm
Andy-
Springs, Andy
Wa-
Samberg.
Andy Samberg and somebody else that's in 30 Rock, but I can't remember their name. Was that
Yeah, I
good? Did
forget
anybody
who
watch
else is
that?
in it.
I
Yeah,
actually
that's pretty
watched
good.
that.
I watched that.
I'll have to check
thought
that out.
this was better. This was better.
Oh, this is way better.
Yeah.
Was this wasn't the
fine.
first do-over movie, was it?
No.
Nin-
Oh wait.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I know that it was. It may have been. It may have been at least the most popular first one because
Yeah.
the way that
For
this
sure.
came up is it was this script was written, I think, as the scriptwriter. It wasn't Harold Ramis. It was the original scriptwriter. I think he got advice from his agent to write a script that's like, this is your pitch script. This is how you get your foot in the door.
Gotcha.
At never intending it to be made, but then he combined it with a different idea and it became Groundhog Day. And he actually picked this holiday, and it just so he had the script without it being Groundhog Day. And the nearest holiday that he looked at on the calendar was Groundhog Day, and it wasn't very well known, like you mentioned earlier in the show. And it just happened to work out that it's like, oh, well, Groundhog Day, 6 more weeks of winter, there's a
cult
repeating element
holiday,
there.
Makes it a cult classic.
Exactly.
Makes it way more memorable than if it was just like another Christmas being just noise.
So, I don't know factually if it was the first repeating day movie, but I think it stands to reason that it's very plausible that it could be from what I
it
read.
could have set the archetype for the rest of them or something.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Proof of concept.
any final thoughts on the film? Anybody had anything else they wanted to bring up?
I'm looking over my notes. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Danielle was talking about how she didn't like the ending. I didn't care so much that they didn't explain why it happened that way. What bothered me about the ending was his reaction to it being the next day. Like,
What
if
do you
you've been
mean?
if you've been stuck looping the same day for 10 years, or however long it was, like, I don't know. He looked out the window and was like, they're not there. The
They're
people
not
aren't
there, yeah.
Like, there was snow on the ground.
The same truck wasn't turning around.
I wanted more of a, like, either just over the top
fireworks.
excitement, more fireworks, or like just weeping.
Yeah.
Well,
a break.
Oh my
Down.
God, it's finally over.
it was an interesting reaction because, on the one hand, also he's got the girl, right? Which is nice.
Oh.
And he did have a sense of relief, I got. Again, not as extreme.
Yeah.
So I hear that. But also, it was very curious to me that his reaction when they leave the doorstep of the bed and breakfast is, let's live here.
Right.
Yeah.
Never.
That's what I didn't like. I was like, you want to, like, you have your chance to
Nope.
finally get away, and you're like, you know what? Let's make every day the same
Well,
again.
I
I almost think he's a Stockholm syndrome to that same day.
It could be that, or I kind of was like, I think that's what I would have done in that situation. Is I've gotten
Maybe.
so used to, and I'm not someone who likes to travel or leave my house. So at that point, the
What?
town's my house. Like
Yeah.
I know all these.
You know everybody
people.
so well. Yeah.
Exactly. I know
true.
all
You're already
these
the town
people.
hero. You saved everybody. They all like you. You're like the.
Yeah,
like,
you
fulcrum
ended
of
on a
the-
night where everyone thinks
Yeah.
you're the coolest
You
guy.
spent a ton
That
on
is
life insurance,
true.
but I mean, other than
That's,
I'm sure
I
he
was
can back
hoping
out
they
of
would
it.
wrap around to the life insurance thing because he bought
it's like I gotta
everything.
cancel all this life insurance.
My thing with like them
God.
living there, I was like, what about all her
Ugh.
dreams of being a big producer lady? Like if they come move to bumfrick nowhere. Just,
Maybe they'll
I guess-
travel.
She's in
Who
love,
knows?
though, you know?
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
the things you do for
I'm
love.
trying to see if I had any other.
Here's the thing, though.
notes.
That was the other thing I wrote down was, even if he spent 10 years learning everything about her and figured out the right way to say every word in a day, it's still one day for her. Is she really going to fall in love with him like that in one day?
Well,
Like, can a person do enough
Well-
things in one day to get that reaction?
I don't know if there's.
And that's, maybe I'm being way too critical of a comedy.
Yeah, I don't know if the
But-
plot
Yeah,
armor is
maybe.
meant to kind of.
It is a
shield
couple
that
days
part.
for her though, because she's got the day leading up to it, and then that perfect day. So she
That's
has
true.
like the mystery of this new person who she's kind of not sure about, but then she kind of figures out that he's like this really interesting, and I don't know. It's
That's
just,
fair. They
yeah.
don't really
Well,
know each
didn't
other.
he explain pretty well what was happening though too? He's like, I'm stuck in this loop, and he's proven to have changed because he's clearly not the same person that she remembers from
That's
the
true.
day before. So she's got the knowledge going in that, well, he's been doing the same thing for 10 years and he's a different person.
I also
Yeah,
kind
but
she
of
doesn't
feel
know that in
like
the last
I didn't
one, does
consider
it?
that.
She doesn't know that in the last day, does she? I thought.
I mean,
he
I
was-
assume.
Or he tells her afterwards. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't
Maybe
remember.
she tells. I would lock that away and never tell anyone. I don't think.
oh my god, I would have to tell everybody.
What were you saying?
I was
Imagine how
gonna
much
say,
therapy
I
he's
kind
gonna
of feel
need.
like she had eyes for him before the looping started, because I feel like she kind of was like a little smiley, a little fun.
Mhm.
Like teasing
Yeah.
him. So
Little
I kind of feel
bashful,
like
yeah.
she was at least interested
You
beforehand.
don't tolerate
But-
that level of toolness without some kind
Yeah.
of something,
No.
right?
No
Yeah.
way.
I mean, yeah.
It's a reversal though, because she's his boss, right? Technically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's
So that's
like the
that's
producer.
pretty
the
progressive
showrunner,
for
yeah.
a '90s movie.
Yeah, it was cool.
I wrote down that Rita gives me Elaine vibes.
Yes.
And I think it's her hair,
Her hair.
and clothing
100%.
a little bit.
The
Yeah.
And
90s
then
hair.
later when she talked, she kind of reminded me of Leanne, Bert's wife, where she's kind of southern. She's that salted the earth, self-possessed, not going to take your bullshit. She's not
Yeah.
fast, you know.
Her
she knows
accent
her worth.
was kind of funny.
Yeah.
It kind of came
There
in
were
and
a
out
couple
little bit,
words she
but-
said that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Name will talk. Like the
Yeah.
L's really
Yeah,
came
she
through. I
asked
was like, oh man.
during filming to use her South Carolina accent. So that was her actual
Oh.
like native
Nice.
accent. So
Mhm.
Southern
Nice.
proper.
Yeah, it was. You
The
got
only other
anything
thing I
else?
wrote down. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you have anything else?
Oh, the only thing I wrote down is this Ferris Bueller meets Truman Show.
I've not seen either of those movies.
So he's got
I
like
don't know what I
that
mean.
perfect
I've seen one of
impossible
those
day.
movies.
Okay. Yeah. I don't-
I've not seen either of those. And
We
neither of
will.
them are on the list,
Yeah.
are they?
wait, I
No,
think
Truman Show's on the
Show.
list.
Oh, Ferris
Okay.
Bueller's not. Maybe we'll
Ferris
put that on
Bueller's another
2024.
good
One of my
should be
favorites.
next year, 2024.
Yeah.
We got a Donnie Darko's another one. We got to
Oh,
make a new 2024
we could do this
list.
for years,
Yeah.
and maybe we
Oh,
will.
we'll never stop.
Ratings, I guess we should jump right into that. And then this week we actually do get to pull from the bucket, and I'm so excited. I hope we get
Nice.
Gone with the Wind. Let's start with the two people who had seen it before. So let's start with Carl.
Okay. I loved this movie. And so to get into the mindset, I put it on loop nonstop yesterday and today. So it's just been playing. When it stops,
my
I
God.
put it back on
Oh
and keep
my
playing
God.
it.
Your
So
own
I've been
Groundhog
putting
Day.
myself in the mindset. I wanted to give it 5. I'm not sure if that's crazy or not. 4.5 feels good, but I like this movie. Like I was as entertained as Roadhouse, but this was an intentionally entertaining movie, whereas Roadhouse was like, funny because it was just not well done at points. God, I'm gonna go 4.5. 5 feels a little strong, but I really love this movie.
Nick?
I'm gonna go 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
Solid movie. It was funny. It was whimsical. It was heartwarming. Like you follow a character from being unlovable and then you love them in the end. Like it was great. 10 out of 10, but also 4 out of 5. I don't know what I'm saying.
What about you?
Me. I'm torn between. I actually looked up like my rating I gave Casablanca, and because I don't know if I can rank this as high as Casablanca, but I think I'm going to. So I think I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 5 as well. I really enjoyed it. I love a good rom-com. Bill Murray's character kind of reminded me of you a little bit in the beginning. Some of the things he said, I was like, I can relate. But yeah, everything Nick said, I loved the words that you used. Whimsical, heartwarming. It was good. So yeah, 4 out of 5.
I'm gonna match my Casablanca rating as well. I'm gonna give it 4.5.
Nice.
I had a blast with this movie. I never felt the need to pause it to see how much was left, which I've done with every other movie on this list so far. Bill Murray, especially once the movie got going, once that snow scene happened, I was locked into his character. The Flying Dutchman was in it. I just had a lot of fun, and I was like, man, I don't remember if it was the scriptwriter or Harold Ramis, but it was said in the Wikipedia that they were hoping that this movie would be like a movie that you watch before Groundhog Day. Like it would be a perennial holiday film. And I went away from it going, I would watch this every Groundhog Day. Like it was a blast.
That'd be fun.
I have one more fact.
Yeah, go ahead.
30 Rock, they did a parody, or at least an homage to this, in an episode that was for Leap Day. And Jim Carrey plays this guy, Leap Day Williams, and Rita's character is in that episode and plays his wife.
Huh.
And I didn't realize that's what this was until I watched this again, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like,
That sketch makes sense.
yeah, I knew. I thought it was just some random thing, but I was like, I cannot believe they. Yeah, it's so good. That's another great show we have to tear through. That's an amazing show.
Yeah. So,
Do that in the TV show spinoff.
Yeah.
all high scores, we agree on a film for the first time in a while.
Look at us.
Look at us.
Bill
Proud of
Murray
us.
united us. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Man.
Thanks, Bill Murray. So yeah, what a good movie. I had a lot of fun. I'd
was
watch
good.
this
Yeah.
again on Groundhog Days in the future.
Yeah.
So now we get to the bucket.
The bucket.
The popcorn bucket. I'm horrified.
Let's go. I want the Mummy
We want
or
to make
Top
predictions or
Gun.
hopes.
I want.
Now I want the Truman Show because Carl mentioned it.
I want. The
I kinda want that. I
Godfather
kinda want the
so
Mummy.
bad. I want to watch The Godfather. Oh,
Ooh, yeah, I could
My
do,
I
could
have
do
a
movie two
ticket.
again.
I have a ticket.
My anxiety's peaking.
All right, let's see.
I
it.
dropped it.
Oh, we're in
Oh,
suspense.
What's it gonna be?
Dramatic.
I don't know what this means.
Pulp Fiction.
Okay.
Oh,
Yes.
We're going right out of
All
this
right.
into Tarantino.
This
I've
is-
never seen a Tarantino movie.
This is good.
Oh, I'm hyped.
Oh,
I'm not looking
Yeah.
forward to this one. Not gonna lie.
You've seen Tarantino though. You've seen.
I've seen Django Unchained.
You've seen Django.
who did Gangs of New York?
Scorsese.
Scorsese. Which we have
Oh,
another
no.
one or
Okay.
two. I think we have two more Scorsese films in here. We have
Tarantino.
Goodfellas and another one he did with Leo. Shutter Island.
Shutter
yeah.
Island.
I think Shutter
10 out of
Island. I
10.
think that's a Scorsese film. Roast me
So
if
it's a
I'm
4 out
wrong.
of 5.
Must be a
10 out of 10. 4 out of 5. Perfect score. 80.
A perfect score of 80%. Man, Pulp Fiction.
Reading
I'm
is
hyped.
hard.
I'm hyped for that.
Yeah.
And scared. So yeah.
That has John Travolta, right?
John Travolta,
And
Sam Jackson.
Or
Reprising his
hometown
role as
legend.
Coach Carter. Yeah.
Yeah. Coach
This is
Carter.
bullshit.
There's a scene in Gilmore Girls, my favorite show of all time, where they have a Pulp Fiction party. So I'm really excited though for that party to make sense now. So I am looking forward to that.
Isn't there a Pulp Fiction?
Pulp
thing
Fiction
in
and Community. Yeah.
Yeah, at the diner.
My friend Abed's.
Oh, yeah.
It's the birthday party.
My dinner
for-
with Andre. My
was-
dinner with Abed.
Was it the birthday party with? Yeah. Man, so many things
Great
are gonna make
show.
sense
Let's
after.
go.
Have you all
Yeah.
seen? Have either of you seen it?
I've seen Pulp
No.
Fiction, yes.
You've seen Pulp Fiction. Nick
But it's
has
been a
not.
while.
All right,
Yeah.
all right. I'm excited. All right, so
Yeah,
with
it'll
that,
feel fresh.
with that, we have our next movie. Well, happy Groundhog Day to all the listeners if they happen to be listening on February 2nd or right before. We will be back next week with Pulp Stinkin' Fiction.
Oh boy.
Yeah. All right. We'll catch you in the next one.
I am the Flying Dutchman.